Welcome, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for our monthly webinar series focused on individual and collective well-being with the California Department of Education, Kaiser Permanente, and the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. My name is Catherine Boyle, and I'm the Northern California Thriving Schools Lead at Kaiser Permanente, and my role here today is to welcome you and provide some housekeeping items before we begin. We will be recording today's session and broadcasting live on Facebook. If you are unable to attend last month's session, you can now access a recording on the CDE's website. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom tray to ask questions during the webinar. We may not be able to respond to all the questions, but we will do our best to follow up to ensure questions are answered. As we continue this monthly webinar series, we want to thank you for spending your valuable time with us. We know you all do so much for our youth, and we hope that these webinars provide strategies and insights to help you to do the things that you need to do to take care of yourselves. With that, and without any further ado, I'm going to pass it to our hosts, Yasmin and Christina.
Thank you so much, and welcome, everyone. Welcome back to those of you who have been with us before, and if you're a newcomer, welcome into this space. We're so glad you've chosen to spend some time with us today. During our sessions together, we have really been grounded in transformative relationships. And those are the ones that are built on mutual trust, right? The ones that have learning and unlearning. And so today, as always, we are asking you to commit to those transformative relationships with those folks that you're working with and in relationship with. And today we're going to continue to dive into the elements of work culture. And we're going to focus on structure and clarity. So personally, at work, when there's not a lot of structure or clarity, that's usually when I'm a bit dysregulated, right? You'll find me on edge. Maybe I feel just kind of a mess, right? And so I really need structure and clarity, and I think we all do. And I don't want to confuse the idea of structure and clarity with perfection, right? The goal is not perfection. We're all going to be human. It's going to be messy. We're going to have conflict. But I think that we can think about clarity and structure as a way to really ground us, to build more predictability, right? And it can also be a roadmap for how folks can be in successful relationship with us at work and for how to be just a good contributor for us where we are. And I also like to think about structure and clarity as a vessel for vulnerability, right? And an opportunity to share and communicate the things that we need. And so I invite you to start with the easy people in your life as we're talking about practices that you can start to implement. My name is Yasmin Rodriguez Corzo, and I am an Associate Director on the Whole Child Health National Advisor Team at the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. And I am so happy to be joined today in this space today with Christina, and I'm going to pass it off to her.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Rodriguez, and I'm a national advisor on the Whole Child Health team. I specialize in trauma-informed approaches. My pronouns are she, her, and I also live in Los Angeles, and I'm super excited to be here with you all.
Thanks, Christina. And so our work is funded and supported in partnership with Kaiser Permanente, and we work with Kaiser to provide a variety of resources and supports to schools and districts all across the country, all at no cost. So all of the tools we're going to go through today, training, things like that, are absolutely no cost to you. And you can learn more about the variety of ways Kaiser Permanente supports schools with their Thriving Schools initiative with a link that's in the chat box right now. And just a couple of housekeeping and how we're going to be engaging today. We are going to be using Menti today to be going through our tools and through the engagement. And today's session is going to ask you to reflect and to write down your thoughts during the activities. So we're going to be using tools to ground us in all of the different activities. And you can click on the link in the chat box right now to access those tools, or you can actually take a piece of paper and just write down as we're going through those activities together. And as I mentioned, we're going to be using Menti to engage primarily. And Menti is really fantastic because it's anonymous. So if you know each other here, you can totally interact being anonymous, and it's actually visually very appealing to me. So you can use the information on the screen right now. You can scan the QR code, or you can go to menti.com and throw in that code. It's 7438-1738. And then I also recognize that that might be a little bit too much for you right now and you want to engage in the chat box. That is totally okay. We're going to be checking the chat box as well, so that's available. And I recognize that somehow it is March 16th today. And if you are, just up to here with it and you're like, I have had enough, I do not want to engage, that's totally okay. You can be a passive participant. You can take this as a walking meeting. You can even close your eyes and just listen to us. That is totally okay. And during today's session, we're going to work through activities, as I mentioned, that can help both individual and collective structure and clarity as we build more transformative relationships. So this is really a moment to reflect and recenter ourselves. And we're going to reflect on the roles that we play and build some more self-awareness around that. And then we're going to map out our individual workloads, right? We're going to get into our to-do lists, and we're actually going to use some of this time to plan for next week and the things that are coming up for us using a framework called the 4Ds. And then lastly, we're going to be practicing developing boundaries. And we're going so that can support the roles that we play and our workload. So if you're in the Menti right now, you're already doing it. I'm going to ask you to pin the things, which activities you're looking most forward to. Are you looking forward to looking at what roles you play and what you're juggling, or you're managing your individual workloads or setting boundaries? All right, so we're going to, the roles that we play are really great. And if you want to put it into the chat box, you totally can. Fantastic. It's really, for me, whenever I feel a little bit overwhelmed, it's really helpful to kind of reflect on what roles are showing up for me and what it is that I need to attend to more, and maybe what is maybe on the back burner a little bit more. But I also love my boundaries, right? I love setting boundaries, talking about boundaries. I can talk about that all day, every day. And Gail shared with us growing more in my job. That's a fantastic goal for today. So I've said structure and clarity quite a bit, right, already. And so I'd love to hear from you. What words come to mind when you hear these words, structure and clarity? So you can throw it into the Menti, or you can put it into the chat box as well. Let us know what words come to mind, or any images that are coming to mind for you. Organization, discipline, process, honesty, a framework, expectations, exactly. I love that organization. Procedures, yeah. Consistency, transparency. Oof, I love transparency is one of my favorite words and one of the things that I desperately need in anything that I do. Routines, collaboration, prioritization, yeah. Efficiency, goals on track, right? Expected, clean, daily expectation and schedule for transparency. Love it. Awesome. Visibility. Love all of these words. You're defining it way better than I ever could. And, I think that sometimes when I'm going to go back to the chat that says, I don't typically think of structure as communication mechanism and really need to polish my clarity. That's so great. That's exactly what we're going to do today. And we are going to think about structure and clarity as a mechanism for communication, right? Sometimes I say structure and clarity to folks and they're like, oh, boring, right? Like this is the boring bits of work, and hopefully not, because structure and clarity in the workplace means that team members have clear roles, right? There's a plan. And those goals are being worked towards, right? There's like momentum. It's a momentum building mechanism. But it does ebb and flow, right? Because circumstances change, right? New procedures come into place, or somebody leaves on a team, new folks come, right? A school semester starts. There's so much change that happens in the education field, right? I mean, this is the one constant in education, that there's always change. And so it's really important to come back and to ask ourselves, like, do we have the structure and clarity that we need, right? Are we coming back to this notion? Are we being clear with each other, right? Asking questions like, is there a structure for what we want to do, right? Have I communicated to my team what is okay or what's not okay? Have I revisited that? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to continue to build that structure and clarity for ourselves, and so that we can communicate that to our teams. And I just want to ask you, like, imagining a workplace that has more structure and clarity, maybe some more structure and clarity in your work life. What might be some benefits to that? And this is going to be an open-ended answer. So feel free to, again, throw it into the chat box. You can put it into Menti. I wish we could come off mute. I know that you all would have so many wonderful ideas to come off mute. So stress reduction, trust building, less problems, healthy work environment, no surprises, accountability, calm, yeah, relaxed environment. Everybody knows what to do. Yeah, that's so nice, right? Security, predictable, less stress, partnership, understanding feedback that is connected, yeah, expectations, productivity, knowing what is expected and how to meet them, yeah, better work relationships. And that's exactly why we're focusing on this, right? All of the things that you're naming is the goal. That's where we're trying to get to. And so as we build more structure and clarity for ourselves, I think it's going to become easier to work with others and for others to be able to do that for us, right? So for me, the clearer I get, the easier it is for me to show up in my values, right? And I just want to be clear that, like, clarity and structure doesn't mean that everyone's going to have the answers they want all the time, but at least there is a clear path, right? And that we kind of know what our goals are, what our expectations are. Thank you so much keep them coming. Strong and empathetic leadership. I love it. So we're going to move on to the next slide. And I just want us to hold this as our grounding quote of the day. That clear is kind and unclear is unkind, right? We're in transformative relationships with each other, where we are trying to nurture relationships with each other. And you can't be clear without communicating, right? And sometimes when we're in it, right, you're juggling so much. Like, it's March, y'all. I don't know how we got to March, but I don't know about you, but I feel overwhelmed, right? And like, just everything is going on at once. And then communicating can feel almost impossible, right? Sometimes there are some days where I just feel like I want somebody to read my mind and just do what it is that I need them to do, but I don't want to actually say it. And unfortunately, that's impossible, right? We know that no one's going to read our minds. And so we can get clearer about what we need and to communicate that. So Christina's going to help us get more specific about our needs within the roles that we play, so that we can continue to be kinder and clearer.
All right, so let's get into this first set of activities. This is going to be focused on creating structure and clarity for ourselves. So for this activity, we're going to be using the Educator's Guide to Managing Individual Workload. If you happen to have this resource handy on your computer, maybe you even printed it out way beforehand, go ahead and grab that, open it up on your computer. And if you don't, just make sure you have a pen and paper, just something to take notes on, and we'll walk you through the activities today. So first, I want us to think about all of the roles we play, both in our personal lives and at work. So when you stop to really think about this, you're probably playing more roles than you might initially think. So maybe at work, you're a teacher, but at home, you're a parent, you're a friend, a partner, a chef. Maybe you're a listener at work too. So we all play several different roles in our daily lives. And oftentimes we're juggling multiple roles at a time, which can be really tricky. So here's a visual example of what one person's roles might look like. As you can see, this person is juggling multiple roles at a time throughout different parts of their day. Before work, they're a parent, a chef, a homemaker. At work, they're a teacher, a listener, a project manager. In the evenings, they're back to being a parent, a disciplinarian, an assignment grader. And on the weekends, they take on a whole other set of roles: friend, volunteer, gardener. So as you can see, this person is really juggling a lot. So now we want you to think about what a typical week looks like for you and what are all of the roles that you play within that week. If it's helpful for you, you can even categorize those roles based on your schedule, similar to this chart. So I'm going to give us about 1.5 minutes to do this. I'm going to start my timer to keep us on track. And I'll let you know when we're kind of coming to a close. So go ahead and just start to jot down all the different roles that you play throughout the week. There are going to be no wrong answers here for this activity. And whenever you're done with this list, you can just hit the thumbs up button on Mentimeter. You can put an emoji in the chat box, but no rush. We're going to be here for about another minute or so. Awesome. I'm seeing some thumbs up come through already. That was fast. Going to give us about 30 more seconds to wrap up. Okay, I'm seeing a ton of more thumbs up, so I think we are good to move on. All right, so now we're going to get to share this with each other. So now that you all have your list that you made, go ahead and share those roles with us on Mentimeter. So what roles did you write down? And then we can kind of see what everyone has going on in this Zoom room. Caregiver, that's a great one. Listener, supervisor, boss, mother, cook, administrator, daughter. Okay, they're coming in fast now. Resource liaison, grant writer, manager, sounding board. Let's see, sister. I'm seeing wife and daughter come up a lot. A maid, a dad, a brother, a house repairman. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see what else I can see. They're coming in so fast. Office worker, meal planner, therapist, coach, boss, a thought partner. I see in the Zoom chat, we're having some people say a confidant. I'm a confidant. A counselor, a student, a leader, a teacher, a parent, an administrator, a trainer. Let's see, a colleague, a friend, a fiance, a gardener. Love that for you. A milk opener. Awesome. Yeah, so as we can see, we are all playing so many different roles and probably all sometimes around the same time. All right, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Great. So part of the joy of being on a team, especially one with high levels of trust, is being able to talk openly and honestly about the roles that we play in life, not just our work roles, but also our personal roles. So really thinking about all of the roles that you came up with, everything that you're doing in a given day, the ones that drain you, the ones that energize you. What do you want your teammates to know about that? Do your teammates know about the roles that you play? So an example might be sometimes my roles change in priority depending on the day, or maybe the role that I'm in right now isn't going to be the most important one I'm playing, or maybe you just want your team to know that you're really juggling a lot. So let us know on Mentimeter, what's 1 or 2 things you want your team to know about the roles that you play? Okay, see family first. that I carry more than what shows, and I'm trying really hard. I'm only one person. I want them to know how much I try. Balancing work and life. I may be distracted or need to leave early. I put a lot of planning into creating art lessons. It's hard to satisfy everyone's needs, that I care about them. I love this one, that I'm doing my best at all times, that I'm committed, that I'm human. That is such a great one. Let's see. I want them to really see me. Sometimes I might have other things on my mind. Miscommunications happen. This one's great. Our roles shift daily, and there aren't enough hours in the day to complete all of our work, and we're just doing the best that we can. Don't make assumptions. Yeah. At the end of the day, we care for our family after work. Sometimes caregiving takes up a lot of my time. I'm flexible. My plate is full and it's hard. Yeah, so I'm really hearing a lot of themes coming up around really just wanting our team to know that we're juggling a lot and that we're really trying hard, even in moments when it may seem like maybe we are dropping a few things on our plate, that we're really trying hard and putting a lot into it. See someone saying that I'm exhausted. Yeah. All right, let's look at the Zoom chat. So I see somebody saying, I want to be included in part of the team, that I like to exercise. So let's go for a walk together. Staying true to yourself. Awesome. These are such great examples. All right. So thank you so much for sharing. We hope that you'll find opportunities to talk openly and honestly about the roles that you play with your teams. And I'll pass it back to Yasmin now.
Thank you so much all for sharing. You do it every single month that we're together. I don't, if you're new here, if you are a veteran participant, you are an incredible group that opens up and is so vulnerable and open with your true feelings in this space. And I just want to kind of take a moment and say thank you for doing that, because I know it's not easy. And what we're asking you to do is not easy, right? To communicate all those roles with your team, to ask for what you need, right? And so the many roles that we play at work aren't only the things that can make us feel out of balance, right? Sometimes it's about our endless to-do list. I don't know if you have an endless to-do list. I definitely do. And I think based on what you put into the Menti and into the chat, I think you do. And so the real struggle of time management in a busy education setting is real, okay? And so we're going to talk about a framework now called the 4Ds that can help prioritize or help us make some decisions about the things that we're juggling. And then that can help us communicate things like capacity, right? Need for help, or being able to say, hey, I need someone to take something off of my plate in a kind and clear way, all right? So from the roles that you identified for yourself, I'd like for you to pick one of those roles. And then I'm going to give you about a week, or I'm not going to give you a week. I'm going to give you a minute to kind of start to write down all of the things that you're going to be juggling next week in that role, or even the things that you're juggling this week. So we can use this as a planning time as well. So I'm going to give you 1 minute, pick one role, and start to write down all of the things that you're juggling within that role. And you can start now. And if you're having difficulty, I'm sure you're not having difficulty coming up with some things, on the next slide, you're going to see some examples that I came up with when I was a teacher. Like, these were the things that I may be juggling in a typical week. All right. And so if you can all start giving me a thumbs up in the Menti or in the chat when you have about 4 or more items on your list that you're juggling. Doesn't have to be too deep. All right, we got lots of thumbs up going. I love it. Great. Awesome. Great. And you can, if more things are coming up for you, feel free to add it to your list. This is an ongoing list. All right. Thank you so much. So now we're going to start to categorize our to-do list. All right. And we're going to do this through 4 Ds of time management. So we're going to think about things that we're going to do, right? Do it. Things that we can delegate, maybe something we can defer, and then would love a lot of things or some things that we can drop, right? And if you can't fully delegate, you can maybe start thinking about what can you ask for help around, or maybe what can you ask someone to take off your plate, all right? So we're going to get a little bit deeper into this. And here's an example of how you might start to think about categorizing this. So for me, grading yesterday's assignments, I'm going to do that, right? I'm going to do that immediately because I need to get it to the students. Finish my lesson plans for next month. I'm going to defer that, right? And I'm not going to defer it so much that it's going to be like the day of, but I'm just going to put that aside for now. Make positive phone calls home. So delegating it, right? So I'm going to ask for help, or I'm going to ask someone to take this off my plate. And then organize my work area. So right now, my work area is not too bad. I can drop that from my list. And I recognize that this may be an oversimplification, right? And it's based on priorities and context. So if you were to fill this out, I'm sure you would fill it out very differently than what I would. So now I'm going to give you your turn to try this out with your to-do list. So taking a look in your to-do list, are there some things that you are able to drop in the next week? Maybe it's one thing, maybe it's two, maybe it's more than two. Let us know in the Mentimeter or in the chat box, what's maybe one thing that you can drop in the next coming week from your to-do list? Organizing office, fantastic. None, single mama, no support network. That's fair. Dusting, yes. Goodbye, dusting, not this week, done. Doing my taxes, defer, we're gonna get to that. But yeah, great, you're starting to think about it. Already completed the shopping, you are amazing. I have to do that after this, and that's gonna be something that I wish I would have done earlier. All right, mopping the kitchen floor. Breaks and lunch. I'm going to ask you to not drop that. I'm gonna urge you to please not drop that and see if we can kind of rework some things in your list so that you are able to do that. Trying to read every single email, yeah. And so if you're finding that you don't have many things that you can drop, that's real. Okay, I'm not going to be like, oh no, I'm sure there's one thing. Maybe there really isn't one thing. And if you feel like truly there's nothing to be dropped, think about, what you might need from your team in order to cope with that, right? So do you need quiet time? Do you need to put your do not disturb sign and say, really, please do not disturb me. I need to do the things that I need to do. Maybe you can ask someone to bring you lunch, right? Maybe ask someone to ask you to go to lunch so that you are having lunch or having a break, right? So thank you for sharing non-productive meetings, social media, limit monthly events, cleaning out email, all these things we can drop. All right. So the next thing we're going to see is, are there things that you can defer? So consider, what is something that maybe can be put off to maybe the week after, or maybe in a couple of months or 1 month. Answering emails, losing weight, yeah. YouTube, creating fast finisher activities, address only important emails. Yeah, so that you can defer kind of the other emails. A grant report put off for another week. Okay, reading the news. Oh, yes, that I've just kind of dropped. I'm like, I'm done, y'all. I'm done with you. So I think that deferring is a great tool that we have, and something that you can consider doing is setting a reminder for yourself to go back to that thing that you deferred, right? So that it's still going to get done, right? It's not going to be dropped, but then you don't have to spend time thinking about it. You know that you got it down the line, right? And so that's one thing that I do to help me defer. Defer shredding. Oh my goodness. Shredding is like one of my self-regulation activities. I love shredding things, but yeah, totally could be deferred, right? All right, so next, let's see what we're going to be delegating. What are some things that you can maybe ask someone to take off your plate, or maybe you can ask for help with? And so I think delegate like sometimes seems like a very harsh word. Maybe it's like too commanding. I don't mean a command, right? I'm not saying like you have to do this for me. But it is like, hey, can you please take this for me, right? And so it's about looking around and saying, hey, who's around me to help me? So greeting new members, yeah, that can totally be delegated. Shopping, yeah, I don't have anyone to help me. Okay, that is real. And, I think it's part of that self-awareness. And I do ask that maybe if we look at our teams and see, is there one person maybe to help us with even a small task, right? Because what happens sometimes is that I'm going to speak for myself, is that I feel like I have to do everything. And when I actually open up to my team members and say, hey, I really am struggling right now and I need help, they have the ability to help me. And that actually nurtures our relationship a lot more than if I'm closing them off. So that's not always the case for everyone, but just something to think about. So housework, increasing children's homes responsibilities. I need to hear that and I need to take that on. Yeah. Delegate creating flyers for events. Delegate being a driver. It's hard to tell someone to do your work. Yes, this is so true. It is very hard. And I think that what we can start to do is start having collective conversations about the things we're all juggling, right? And so we're going to encourage you to take this to your teams so that you have more conversations together and see collectively, are there things that you can drop? Collectively, are there things you can start to delegate? All right, now we're going to talk about, and I'm sure this is going to be the easiest one for you all, what are the things that you're going to start to do? Maybe not start to do, but what are some of the things that you are going to do next week? And I'd love for you to think about, are there things in your to-do list that will give you energy, or maybe will start filling your cup? So start to walk for exercise, right? That's fantastic. Come to work. I'm going to take time for myself. I'm going to do the president's report. I'm going to be calling parents. Take a walk 5 times a week. Lead a meeting. Count steps, take a walk during breaks, right? And so for me, sometimes the work is what gives me joy. Surprise to no one on my team, I love spreadsheets. I love updating spreadsheets, and that's like a calming me time during my work. And so I kind of think about, how do I place that in my week so that I know that I have that calm time for myself. So you can maybe think about your to-do list in that way as well. And so we have scheduled payments, affirmations, waking up instead of checking, affirmations when you're waking up instead of checking your phone. Okay, playing with kids. Give yourself some grace. I love that. Co-facilitate events and share responsibilities. Love that. And so just thinking about how you're going to place your time next week, can you strategically place the things that are going to give you energy or give you some joy, placing them throughout your week so that you have that kind of reliably there for yourself so that you don't have to miss out on that. All right, we did a lot. I don't know if you know, but like we have kind of unpacked quite a bit. And I just want to take a pause for the cause. And taking a look at your list or noticing your feelings right now, what are you noticing? What's coming up for you? When I was prepping for this presentation today, the first thing that came up to me was, my gosh, I wish I did this at the beginning of my week because I felt so overwhelmed this week. And I needed to kind of like pull things apart for myself. I need sleep. Ooh, yes, good. I feel empowered. I feel more relaxed. My list is long. Yes, I feel more in control. Okay, I have the tools that I need to succeed. A clearer mind. Each hat I wear has many tasks. Absolutely. That there are some things I can delegate and some things that I can drop. That's amazing. I need to delegate more. Stronger locus of control. Okay. I need to take better care and more effort towards building myself a support network. That's huge. I would love for you to be able to name these things without judgment and to be able to give yourself some grace. You're doing so much and you're wearing so many hats. And I just hope that you are able to take some things from these activities so that you just bring a little bit more awareness into your day, right? This is what it's about. And then to be able to communicate that to your teams, okay? And so our next section and our last section is going to focus on boundaries. And the reason why we're going to do that is so that we can start to think about what we need in order to fulfill the roles, in order to fulfill the things that we want to do, maybe delegate, maybe drop or defer, right? And we would love for you to share this and try it out. So share your Ds with your team, right? Share it with your supervisor or your colleagues and share out what you're noticing. All of the things that you named, we encourage you to share that with the folks that you're working with. And then ask your team and colleagues about their Ds and have the same conversation, because you're going to find often that others are feeling exactly the way you are, and that can lead to problem solving and more collective care. I'm going to pass it off to Christina to talk about boundaries.
All right, so next we're going to talk about creating structure and clarity for our teams. And as Yasmin said, we're going to do that through talking about boundaries, because we know that boundaries are key to our well-being and they can really help build structure and clarity for our teams. So for this portion of the webinar, we'll be using the Setting Team Boundaries resource. And so if you happen to have that handy, go ahead and grab that. And if not, again, just make sure you have something to take notes with and we'll guide you through the activities. So before we do a deep dive into boundaries, I just want to know what comes to mind when you hear the word boundary. Go ahead and share a word or a phrase with us in Mentimeter. The first word that comes to mind for me is hard, because boundaries are really hard. All right, I see respect, no, safe, limits, structure, walls, saying no. That one's big, means a lot of people are writing that. Relief, yeah, totally. Self-care, individuality, clarity, space. Yeah, boundaries can help us create more space. Security, time off. Yeah, we can always ask for time off by setting a boundary. I'm seeing these three words really big: space, respect, and limits. Obstacle, breathing. So it seems like many of us are associating boundaries with a sense of relief. Staying in your lane, healthy, personal space, safe, safety. So again, I'm really seeing that a lot of us are associating boundaries with a sense of like well-being, a sense of relief, and self-care. Awesome. All right, let's move forward and talk some more about boundaries. So we categorize boundaries into 5 areas. The first is physical, and that's really going to include our needs for personal space, our body's needs for things like rest, food, and water. Many of you were already mentioning a need for sleep. So that might be something that you'd put in the physical boundary category. And then next is mental boundaries. And with this, we're really talking about our thoughts, our ideas, our curiosities, and it also includes respecting other people's ideas. And then we have emotional boundaries, which are all about respecting and honoring our feelings and energy levels. Material boundaries, this is going to refer to items and possessions like our home, our car. Maybe we're setting boundaries around who can borrow money from us or who can use our car. And then lastly, we have time boundaries. So setting time boundaries really means understanding your priorities and setting aside enough time for them without overcommitting to things. And our boundaries in all of these categories can be rigid, healthy, or porous. So a rigid boundary, so many people are writing in the word cloud wall or firm. And so that's really what comes to mind when I think of rigid boundaries. They're firm, they're strict, they don't really change. And if you're someone who has rigid boundaries, maybe you find that you're consistently closed off to others, or maybe you really struggle to ask for help or kind of keep your teammates at a distance. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have porous boundaries. So these are the opposite of rigid boundaries. And these are boundaries that say anything goes. So if your boundaries are porous, you might find that it's really, really hard for you to say no when a team member requests something of you. And then right in the middle, we have healthy boundaries. And so healthy boundaries create a space where you're open and vulnerable with others. You can ask for help when you need it. And most importantly, you can say no without feeling uncomfortable. So you are somebody who knows your personal wants and needs, and you can communicate them with other people. And I also want to say that it's totally normal to have different types of boundaries. So for example, I have pretty firm and rigid boundaries around my time and my physical needs. But my boundaries, like my mental and emotional boundaries, sometimes are a little more porous. So you might also find that it's easier to set rigid or healthy boundaries at home and harder to do so at work because maybe it's just harder to say no at work. So it's completely normal for your boundaries to really move along a spectrum depending on the setting as well. And the key here is really understanding how the boundary functions in relation to your well-being. And the goal is that you set boundaries that value your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs. All right, so next we want to do a little personal inventory, a little reflection. So we want you to think about what kind of boundaries you have at work. So think about each category of boundaries: physical, mental, emotional, material, and time. And what type of boundary do you set for each category? So are your physical boundaries firm or are they porous? And go ahead and do that for each category. And just let us know on Mentimeter by using the little slider button where you kind of fall with each boundary. And I will read off the answers. All right, so it looks like we're all in agreement right now that our physical boundaries are really firm and rigid. Our time boundaries, so, maybe more porous. I get it, it's really hard to say no to things in regards to time. Okay, I'm also seeing our material boundaries are maybe kind of in the middle, emotional boundaries as well. Awesome. You can also write in the chat box too. If you're not able to use Mentimeter, let us know in the chat box and I'll read off your answers. Seeing a lot of these answers are like right in the middle too. Looks like we all have a pretty good grasp on setting healthy boundaries. So that would be the middle range, would mean that you have healthy boundaries in this section. And I'm still seeing physical boundaries we're a little more towards the firm side. Yeah, we got to make sure we have our sleep, we have food, rest, probably lunch breaks. Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. I hope that kind of was a little eye-opening for you just to do that reflection with us. And I'm going to pass it back to Yasmin now, who's going to take us through the next part of the exercise.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone for sharing. I just want to kind of put it out there that sometimes we need to be rigid in our boundaries, right? Like no is a full sentence, and that is fair. And especially, it doesn't surprise me to see kind of like physical boundaries being a little bit more rigid, especially after the past few years, right? And so it ebbs and flows, right? And so we're going to use this resource called the boundary setting tool to help us set some boundaries if we want to kind of get better at some of the different areas that you identify. So maybe For me, I think my time boundary, it needs a little bit more help. I'm going to be straight up with that. I'm pretty porous with my time, and I just want to get a little bit healthier there. So thinking about all of the activities we did before this, your roles, all the responsibilities, your 4Ds, your to-do lists, what are some boundaries that you would like to build? So do you want to focus on a physical boundary? Because we're going to actually build one together right now. Do you want to do a physical boundary, a mental boundary, an emotional, maybe material, or time? And you can put it in the Mentimeter, you're going to pin that, or you're going to put it into the chat box for me, or you can also just think about it. You don't have to share it all. Okay, so Kathy's going to do mental. We have some mental boundaries, time, fantastic, emotional, physical, fantastic. All right, keep them coming. Great. Emotional, physical. I've been working on my physical more. This one is also usually the one that kind of like goes out the window. I'm like, yeah, no, it's okay. Time. All right, material, fantastic. And material can also be like your actual materials, right? In the classroom, in your planning areas, wherever it might be, those can also be your material boundaries. Emotional, all right, fantastic. So let's get into it. I am going to be practicing my time boundary, as I mentioned. So setting time boundaries means understanding your priorities and setting aside enough time for them without overcommitting. All right, so, and the boundary setting tool has a prompt for 4 different sentences, right? So it's, I will say yes to, others may not, I can ask for, and I will guard my time and energy by. So if I'm setting a time boundary, my example is going to be, I will say yes to signing off work at the end of the day. So that's what I am committing to. That's by building my boundary, that's what I'm saying yes to. So I'm going to ask you, based on the area that you chose, what is one thing that you will say yes to? So we're going to build this together. And you can put it in the Mentimeter, or you can put it in the chat box. I'm going to ask Christina, what will you say yes to?
I'm going to say yes to taking my lunch break.
Yes. I will help you with that, because I know for a fact that Christina sometimes does not take her lunch break, and I can help you. So we have drinking more water. My family, I'm going to say yes to my family. I'm going to say yes to sticking to my plan for the day. I'm going to say yes to reserving time for gymnastics weekly. Time boundary, not giving away my free time. Yeah. I'm going to say yes to chair yoga or eating healthy. Me time, doing something fun for me. Letting others figure out their own problems. Woo, whoever said that, say it again. Yes. Honoring my values. Love that. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next question here, or the next prompt. So others may not. For me, if I'm going to sign off at the end of the day, others may not schedule meetings past 4 p.m. All right. And this is not to be rigid, right? I am a generous human being. I am in transformative relationships with my colleagues. I am kind. I am a giving person. But I am going to be clear about what you may not do. And you may not schedule meetings after 4. So what about you? What may others not do? Others may not take away my lunch break. Others may not make me feel bad about my decisions. Others may not demand I'm always available. Others may not dump their responsibilities on me. Others may not schedule meetings through lunch. Others may not infringe on my time. Others may not be unprofessional. Others may not make me feel invalued. Others may not assume I am available when I am not. Yes. Others may not assume that I will always say yes. Yeah. Others may not push me to commit to something I do not have time for. Thank you for sharing all these. Like, the reason why I ask you to share them in the chat box or in the Menti is so that others can see your answers too, because it's so helpful to see other people's responses and to like kind of borrow them too. Others may not call me at home after hours. Absolutely. Others may not expect me to work beyond 10 hours, right? At the end of each work day. Okay. We're going to do one more. Others may not expect me. Oh, go back. I want to read it. Others may not. And I just want to do one more. Ooh, others may not think that their urgency is my priority. I love it. I just had to say it out loud because I just love all these examples. Okay, let's go to the next one. I know we're coming to the end. I know. So what can you ask for? In my time boundary, I can ask for support from my supervisor and my team. What can you ask for? Let me know in the Menti or in the chat box. Right, we're building that boundary. We figured out what we're going to say yes to. We figured out what others may not do. What are we going to ask for? What kind of help can we have? We can ask for kindness, okay? We can ask for more time if needed. Help when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I can ask for people to respect my time. Yeah. I can ask for a day off without guilt. Yes. I can ask for grace. I can ask for prioritizing tasks, right? Being able to say, hey, I have a really long to-do list. Which one should I focus on? Right? Yeah, that's a great one. I can ask for quiet time. I can ask for volunteers. I can ask for respecting of time. I can ask for grace. I can ask for clear expectations in my roles from my partners, team, and supervisors. Yes, you can. That is exactly what we're getting at. All right. I can ask to stay on task. Yeah, I can ask, you can ask for so many things. This is fantastic. I can ask for my time not to be wasted by acting unprofessional during meetings. Yeah, yes, you can. I can ask for help. All right. And the last thing is about our time and energy. How will you guard your time and energy? So I will guard my time by clearly communicating my end time on shared channels, right? So I'm going to pull up the Menti again and ask, how will you guard your time and energy? So whenever possible, I let people know, hey, 4 o'clock is my end time. You cannot schedule. And if somebody does schedule, I can kindly say, hey, can you please reschedule, right? Or I will guard my time and energy. Sometimes people push up against my boundaries. And for me, that's a moment of self-regulation. I can take a breath. I can guard my energy by going for a walk. I can guard my energy by doing a loving kindness meditation, right? I can guard my time and energy by not offering to do things I don't have time for. That's amazing. Yeah. I can guard my time and energy by letting people know when my day starts and ends and when I need a mental break, by grounding myself before entering into a shared space. Love that. By respectfully saying, I won't be able to address the concern at that moment. By being transparent, just by saying no. I will guard my time and energy by saying no. No, thank you. That is not for me right now. Taking a break for a walk. Not volunteering. Yes. Learning to say no. By scheduling self-care and treating it like any other appointment. I love it. Thank you so much. And so I'm going to ask you to try it out. We have just built a boundary for ourselves. So I'm going to ask you to share that boundary with your colleagues and with your supervisor. And then ask for some accountability, right? Accountability buddy. Christina told me that she is going to take her lunch break, right? I can be her buddy in making sure, like, hey, are you actually doing what you said you were going to do? And then ask your team and colleagues about their boundaries, right? Open this up for a conversation so that you can help each other. I don't know if you can believe it, but we're at the end of our session together and we have talked about so much. We talked about reflecting on our roles, on our to-do list, on our managing workloads, the 4 Ds, setting boundaries. And I would love to know, are there any tools that you would like to try out with your team? Let me know in the chat box, or you can pin it onto the Menti as well. All right. Yeah, we're getting an assortment of all things. The 4Ds. I love the 4Ds. Yeah, I love the 4Ds. It's something that you can come back to like even daily if you need to. It's something that's just so easy and ready to go. So love it. Our roles, our boundaries. Thank you so much for sharing. And as always, we are going to ask you to please share your feedback with us. We hear you, and we look, we were looking through our feedback from previous sessions, and we heard you that you were saying, like, we want more tangible resources. We want things that we can implement in our days. And so that really helped us guide how we built this session out, and hopefully it resonated with you. And if it didn't, that's really important too. And we really do look at each and every single person's anonymous feedback. So please take a moment. It takes about 2 minutes to finish the survey. You can scan the QR code, or you can click the link in the chat box. And it really does help us with that continuous improvement. And right now, or when you receive the follow-up email next week, I encourage you to join your school or district team in the Healthier Generation Action Center. And inside the Action Center is the Thriving Schools Integrated Assessment. And that's developed in partnership with Kaiser Permanente. And that's to self-assess what is currently in place. And you can work together to advance health and learning with an integrated approach. And so next to each question, you're going to find resources that's related to implementing healthier practices. And you can always email us or call us for support. I'm here, Christina's here. We have a whole team of folks ready to support you. And we are so looking forward to seeing you in our next session. And that's going to be our last session together. I cannot believe 7 months have flown by so fast. And in the chat, you're going to find, or in the follow-up email as well, you're going to find a flyer that you can share with your colleagues. And I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for the space and time that you've shared with us today. We know that you're carrying so much, and it's really not lost on us that you've spent an hour with us. And that's a big ask from you. So thank you so much. And you matter, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. And we hope to see you soon, and take care.
Thank you so much, Yasmin and Christina, for such a wonderful presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and we'll see if we can get to them. Before we close out, a couple of reminders. First of all, the CDE, the California Department of Education, has a K-12 mental health listserv, and you can sign up to receive information about resources and events related to mental health using the link that's going to be in the chat. Kaiser Permanente and Healthier Generation want to celebrate your efforts to support the physical, mental, and social, emotional health needs of students, staff, and families. And one of the things that you can apply for is through America's Healthiest Schools. Kaiser Permanente and the school teams can apply in more than one or all 9 school health topics, including staff well-being. The Cultivating Staff Wellbeing Award recognizes school teams that actively promote relationship building with staff, foster a culture of gratitude, and provide resources to support breaks for all staff during the instructional day, things that we've been practicing through this webinar series. Awardees earn a spot on the annual list of America's Healthiest Schools and receive a digital promotional package to help share accomplishments with your school community. There's still time to apply. The deadline is April 18th. And each topic's applications take less than 30 minutes to complete. And more information can be found on the America's Healthiest Schools website, and there's information there and in the chat. With that, are there any questions that we want to take a look at? All right. Seeing none, just a reminder to please fill out the feedback survey. This gives us valuable information. We really appreciate it. And you'll receive a follow-up email with all of the resources that we talked about today. And again, I'm adding my thanks to all of the presenters, to Yasmin and Christina, to all the behind-the-scenes folks, and to all of you for spending your time with us today. Thank you, and have a great rest of your afternoon.